Hi. Hello there. Nice to see you. I know you're not used to seeing actually me in these videos. As you can see, I'm at my house. So I thought that I'd make a video for you today because we're starting a brand new chapter, which we haven't done before. And I'm very excited about it because we're doing geometry today. We're starting geometry, lines, angles, shapes, all that kind of fun stuff. It's really one of my favorite lessons to teach because it's so different. It's just so different from anything else you do in math, as you will soon see. We are going to take a copious amount of notes. That means a lot of notes today, okay, which will help us for sure in the future. So what you will need for today's lesson is a notebook, a pencil, and a ruler. Wait a minute, Mr. Brown. That's clearly not a ruler. Okay, I'm in my house. I can't find my ruler. I don't know where it is. So I'm using a popsicle stick because we're not actually measuring out inches or centimeters today. We're not using the ruler. We're just using the ruler for a straight edge. And listen, folks, if you can't find a ruler, find anything that has a straight edge. No, you guys have rulers. You have access to rulers in this room. But for me, I'm just going to use something with a straight edge. So pause the video if you need to get those supplies. And then when you're ready, join me again. And we're back. So open up your notebook to your next fresh, clean page, and we're going to take some notes. Yes, I have a pen and not a pencil. Big deal. So let's start with the basics, and I do mean basics, okay? If at any point you're going to be drawing a line, you have to start with the end of the line, okay? So we're going to simply start off by making a dot. Okay, we'll make a dot here, and then we'll make another dot, over here. Now, these dots, we're going to name these dots. This is going to be A, and this is going to be B. Now, we don't call these dots. We're actually going to call these points, and I actually want you to label that as the word P-O-I-N-T. This is actually point A and point B. So we don't use the word dot anymore after this. We're actually using the word point. And this basically signifies where the line ends. What line, Mr. Brown? Well, we're going to make the line. Now that we have the ends of our lines, we're going to use our ruler, quote unquote, and we're going to connect the lines. I've said it before 150,000 times, and I'll say it again. Pause the video as many times as you need to make sure that you are following along properly and doing everything that I'm doing. So now we have a line, but it's not a line, Mr. Brown. It clearly is. I see this is actually not a line. It's actually a piece of a line. Let me say that again. It's a piece of a line. Okay? It's a chunk of a line. And we actually have a name for this piece of a line, and it's actually called a line segment. Now, S-E-G, and again, as much time as you possibly need for this, M-E-N-T, okay? Line segment. And the word segment literally means a piece of something or a chunk of something. So this is actually the piece of a line. Well, Mr. Brown, if this is a line segment, because look, it ends there and it ends there, A and B. So that's why we know it's a line segment, because it has two endpoints, this and this. Well, Mr. Brown, if that's the case, then what does a line look like? It's a good question. Let's draw it. Take your ruler and place it right around where this point is, right on top of it. And notice how I'm kind of going at a different angle. I'm not really doing it. I'm doing it in such a way where I don't cover up the word point, I guess, but I want to do this. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to line it up carefully like this, hold it in place, and I'm going to draw one that goes through it like this at a different angle. Take your time, okay? This is why they have erasers on pencils. If you don't get it right the first time, it's totally okay. Okay, so we're going to do that. Mr. Brown looks like looks like the same as the line. So hold it. We have this end is A, and this, and wait a minute though. I think let's pump the brakes a little bit. Nah, we'll get there eventually. We'll talk about that other stuff later. Well, I just want to talk about right now the difference between a line segment and a line. So right here, this is A, right? And we've done A, we've used B. So logically, next point that we've named should be C, right? A, B, okay. Because we don't want to use the same letter of the alphabet twice. That could get very confusing. So right up here, we're going to do another point, and we're going to label that point C. That's point C. Now remember, we're going to kind of pretend like this part doesn't exist, okay? Now you'll notice the difference between this line segment and this line is that the line extends beyond the points. For the line segment, okay, it stops here and here. That's why it's a line segment. But this goes beyond the points, okay? And we can further tell that this is not a line segment because we're going to put arrows on this side and we're going to put an arrow on that side. And whenever we see an arrow, that means that the line goes on forever. Forever in that direction. I know this forever is a very strange concept, but it goes on forever in that direction and forever in that direction, a straight line. So this is just a line. And again, how can we tell the difference? Because a line segment ends with 2 points. In this case, it's A and B. A line goes on beyond the points, forever that way and forever that way, okay? Now let's talk about how we name the lines. What do you mean? Henry, George, Martha, right? No. Okay, we give these lines name because if you had lots of segments and lots of lines all over the paper, you need to be able to tell which one is which. So we need to give them a name. So the line segment, we could give it 2 different names. The first line segment name we can give it is line segment AB. Pretty obvious as to why. AB. So over here, we're going to write A, B, and then, this is very, very important, we draw a straight line above it. So this would be line segment AB. What's the other name we could give it? Just take those 2 letters of the alphabet and reverse them. So it could either be line segment AB or BA. And both are correct. So you could name it either way, either BA or AB, but make sure you put that line segment above that so we know that that's what we're naming. We're naming a line segment. Now, Mr. Brown, how do we name this one over here? How do we name this line? Well, not surprisingly, there's 2 different ways. The first way, and again, we're going to pretend like this part over here doesn't exist. We're just looking at this. You guessed it, is line AC. B is not part of this, right? B is part of the segment. So it's AC. So wherever you like, you can put AC, or its opposite, CA. You can name them either way. Now, what goes above the AC or the CA, okay, is a little mini version of the line with arrows. Please make yours straighter than mine. That's not really that great. See what I'm saying? So, line AC is how you would say this. Line segment AB. Line CA. Line segment BA. Okay? So, that's part 1. So this is all the difference between a line and a chunk of a line, of a line segment. But wait, there's more, okay? So we're going to move on to something different. So you'll need to go to move down a few different spaces here, okay? This is gonna be, might be a slightly lengthier video than you're used to. So here's the deal. Let's imagine that we had another line down here, and this line is just going to go straight, right? You could line it up right to one of your lines in the paper. Okay, And we're going to just do a straight, I don't know how long, about that long, I suppose. About that long. Now, this is going to be like sort of a combination of our previous two lines, the line segment and the line. Because we're going to put a point right here, okay? And we're also going to put a point here. Now you notice, wait a minute, Mr. Brown, I notice that this point is like an end point. And that point it goes a little bit beyond. So it's like a combination of the last two. You're right, it absolutely does, okay? So again, we'll do, to keep it as easy as we possibly can for ourselves, we will name this A and B again, just to keep it as simple as we possibly can. But here's the thing. This is going to have an end point and on one end and an arrow on the other end. And this is not called a line segment. This is not called a line. This is called a ray. Okay? It's called a ray. Now a ray is different because it has one end point and it goes on forever in only one direction. Okay? This line goes on forever in both directions, right there, up and down, or whatever way it was facing. This, however, ray goes on forever in one direction. I like to remember that is because, if you see like the old science fiction movies where somebody has a ray gun, they go pew, 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 and the little lasers come out of it. They go on in one direction. Those lasers, when they come out of the gun, pew, 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 they only come out in one direction and they keep traveling in that direction. That's how I remember that a ray is different, because I think of an old science fiction-y ray gun and I think about that, pew, pew, pew. It's pretty cool. So that's a ray. All right. Now, what can we do with it now? Oh, again, how do we name it? Two different ways. And again, you're going to be like, Mr. Brown, you're starting to repeat yourself. A, B, you guessed it, or BA again. Now, again, could I use other letters of the alphabet? Absolutely. I could use XY. I could use, typically you want to try to go in some sort of order. You don't want to, if you start with an X, you want to make sure there's a Y and a Z. You know what I mean? Like if you start with an A, you don't want to go to a G. You want to go in alphabetical order in some way. And for the sake of ease, it's typically going to be A, B, C, D. You'll start at A, or sometimes they go to the opposite end of the alphabet and they'll go X, Y, Z. But you don't want to go in order. Now, what do you put above this? I bet you could also guess this. You draw a little mini ray with an arrow only going like that. Okay, that way and that way. So this is ray AB or ray B. Actually, well, now that I think about it, I don't know if you can name a ray. Can you name a ray and the other way too? Can you name it ray BA? That doesn't make any, I don't know if that makes any sense now. Now it got me questioning myself because a ray, really, I don't think that's actually, I think that I don't know if you could actually name it. Why don't you do me a favor? Cross this one out. Because now you got me questioning myself. Because if it only goes on in one direction like this, I don't know if it makes sense to call it that. All right, I'll have to look into that, because that just don't make no sense to me. If it's a ray, I don't know. I think maybe, direction, you know what I mean? We can't call it that. Yeah, forget that. That's a no-no. We cannot call it a BA. Okay, that actually doesn't make sense. Because if a ray only goes on in one direction, now the old Mr. Brown would have stopped this video and started it all over again. I ain't doing that. Listen, we'll keep that mistake right in the video and keep plowing through. I don't care. We're too many minutes into the video. What are we like at this point, like 14 minutes in? I am not starting all over again. So we can only name it one way, is AB. And that's all we can do. I told you this would be a lengthier video than normal, and I meant it. So array AB. Now, here's something really cool that we can do with this. What we can do, and this is the last thing we're going to do, I promise, is we can actually make another ray that connects onto this ray. But we want to make sure to give it a little bit of space, okay? So notice I'm going to kind of go I don't know, somewhere right around there. And I want you to start at point A, make sure you position it properly. And let's make another ray going about roughly equal length. You don't have to be super fussy about it, but roughly around the same length. Okay? We're going to put a point right here. We're going to put an arrow right here. What letter of the alphabet are we going to use? Yeah, C. Okay? Now, it doesn't matter if they're not going in like, oh no, this is B. It doesn't matter. So we're going to, and this is going to be ray. AC only. Now we figured it out. Rays can only be named one way because they only go in one direction. So we can only call this, oh, that's a lousy arrow. We can only call it AC. We cannot call it CA. We can't do that. Okay? So check this out, gang. What we have created is when we put two rays together and they share a single endpoint. Technically, this is called a vertex, although I don't know if this is ever going to come up again. Okay, I don't know if that's ever going to come up again, but so, write it. We actually made an angle. So make a little line right there. We made an angle, okay? And we'll talk more about angles in the future, but that's what we've actually made. So from here to here, we've actually made an angle. So how far open is this from just being a 0 degrees? And again, we'll talk more about this in the future. I would roughly say that I probably created a 45-degree angle, but that's not important right now. What is important, because we're going to get into all that other details later about angles and degrees and 0 degrees and 45 and 90. We'll get into that. So what is really important, though, is how to name this. Okay? Remember, it's not a ray anymore. It's made of two rays. Ray. But now we've created something new. We've created an angle. A-N-G-L-E. If you put E-L, that's angel. So this is actually an angle that we've created. And you name this angle in a very specific way. And let's write the word angle again. Now, instead of putting something above it, okay, again, you can name this two different ways. You actually draw an angle on your paper before you, on the same line that you're going to write your letters of the alphabet. So it's angle, and you'd literally say this as angle, here we go, it's one of two different ways. B, A, C. And let's see if you can guess the second way. Okay, draw the angles. Either B, A, C, or ... You guessed it, the opposite direction. C, A, B. And that's how we would label it. Okay, so angle B, A, C. And whenever you name an angle, the vertex, the point where they both meet, that's the middle letter of the alphabet. That's going to be the middle. So it would either be this, 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 or this, this, this. And it doesn't matter what the letters of the alphabet are. It could be X, Y, Z, or Z, Y, X. It doesn't matter. But it has to go in that order. And yes, there are two different ways you can name them, and that'll be perfectly fine. So, folks, I know that was a lot, but with these notes, I believe that you can do the next part of this lesson, okay? It's a lot on one page. Holy macaroni, baloney, look at all this stuff. I hope that you have all this written down, even the mistake part. That's fine too. I hope you have this all written down as nice and neatly as you possibly can. You will need your ruler, I believe, for what's coming next, which will be explained to you momentarily. Have a absolutely fantastic and wonderful day. This was a lengthy video, but it was really worth it. We're starting a whole new adventure today. So let's see if you can see my face again. Hey! So hope you have an absolutely fantastic day. Keep working hard, and I will see you in a bit. Bye-bye.